ain't notice. Second guessing my message, like never mind my impression. Steady counting my blessings, steady think that I'm flexing. They only see when I'm flexing, they only hear when I'm flexing. They only like when I'm flexing. Damn, I love my reflection. My confession, this is my Melly Mel impression. My confession, this is my Melly Mel impression. Like you don't know, flexing. Like you don't know, flexing. Like you don't know, flexing. Yeah, act like you know, I'm flexing. Had my baby moms on my back, Bloomberg on my balls. Try to take me out of my zone, like my city, it ain't yours. I'm painting pictures and popping. They popular but just posing. They turn their back on my people, acting like the people ain't.
Peace, family. Welcome to another Underground Railroad production. This is your boy, Brother Rich. I'm out here with Brother Royale. I seen the brother, and I'm in Brooklyn. I haven't been in Brooklyn in a while. And the brother was just telling me how he won his child support case. And I'm telling the brother, yo, man, I want to talk to you a little bit on film. I've done talked to so many brothers, Royale, in the past 5, 6, 7 years that's just caught up. I mean, brothers is my barber. He had his barber license taken from him, can't drive, can't leave the country. I mean, this child support, this is some serious shit here, man. So before I get into some general questions, because you told me you won your case. Everybody thought you was gonna lose, everybody was against you. You told me some dirty tricks they was doing on you. So this video right here is for the brothers that's caught up in this child support shit. Maybe you can help them out somewhat. Because it's obviously a trap set up by the system or whatever. So just in general, brother, before I get into a few questions, tell the people what was going on with your case and how did you manage to win, brother?
Hey, what's going on, family? The case dragged out. It was one of those, you know, I take care of my sons. You know, I got 2 sons. I take care of my sons. You know, I'm a family guy. It's one of those things where my case was, you know, when you break up with a woman, you know, whatever selection that you choose or whatever the case is, like sometimes you wind up in a bad relationship. And the relationship went sour. And just because she, depending on the guy that she was with, it was that changed her temperament. When she got with somebody who was obviously a little more selfish and with no empathy, you know, they took my son, went to another state, went to another borough, and I couldn't find him. You know, pretty much changed the number and everything like that. So what wound up happening is when she left, and I'm trying to track her down. You know, I went to the court and I started to get a visitation right. And when I went to the court to get a visitation, the court told me, "Hey, listen, they told me I had an open case, and you know, and they told me the location or whatever." So when I went over there, come to find out, they already did paternity without me. They already had it marked up to like $1,800 a month. You know, it was crazy. So. Me just knowing that it was wrong from the rip, you know, what I was like, naively, I was like, well, they'll do the right thing, knowing that, you know, it was started wrong, and you know, without no jurisdiction, so forth and so on. So, you know, I continued on doing what I was doing as far as with politics and with music and other things. So I felt like the court system would do the right thing, and within, you know, we could start the case again. So while I'm paying attention to other things, I was realizing that the court system wasn't doing the right thing. So like you said, we got a lot of brothers that's caught up in the court, you know, caught up in the system, and all of them pretty much was telling me that was caught up in the child support system. They was telling me, listen, you'll never get out. They was leaving the state, you know, just to try to get away from it. So for me, I'm not going to leave my son. You know, that's not my style. So I was like, nah, I'm not in the wrong. I do my thing. You know, I make sure I take care of mine or whatever. So what I did was when I found out that when you start off a child support case, one thing that a lot of people got to pay attention to is service. Service is key because that grants them jurisdiction. All right. Now, jurisdiction is how I actually was able to win my case, because they never had jurisdiction and I was able to prove it. Okay. So what happens is when they send you these letters, they send them illegally. And in their code, from the rip. Every case, everybody, even I don't care how much you've been paying, how long that your case been going on. The first thing is think about how was you served. Okay, so first, when I realized that they sent service by mail, and if they do it that way, they're supposed to do it by certified mail. They're not doing it by certified mail because that costs money. They're doing it by priority mail. That's illegal. All right. So even if somebody walks up to you and hands it to you, you still, show up, go to the court, make sure you show up, but never grant them jurisdiction. So come to find out, they did it by priority mail, which is illegal. But what they did was, even though I told them, I'm like, yo, listen, I was never served. What they did was they said, listen, you need to prove that you wasn't served. That's wrong. That's not how it goes. The magistrates are lawyers. They're not actually judges. So most of these cases start with the magistrates. So what the magistrate's job is to do is to, it's pretty much like a high-powered secretary. So happened the magistrate that I had like 200,000 cases and never lost. She was like destroying people's lives. She crushed Mark Anthony and his lawyer, and she embarrassed a lot of people. She obviously she was one of the highest paid magistrates in the court system because she's making more than the judges. She's making twice as much as the judges are making. So she done created a hierarchy in there where they get kickback from these things. I didn't know that. I didn't know that these judges get kickback from, like, say if they take in, some of the guys get $100 out they check. The judges get the kickback, and it's like commission. So her commission was crazy because she marked me up to $1,800 a month, right? And half of these cases are moving on without paternity tests. So how could you have a paternity test without the father? That's one strike that was against him. And another thing is that your wording is important. When you say when you show up, they want you to appear in court. Don't do that. Don't say you appearing in court. You making a special appearance. All right. One thing, not to veer off topic, I know you hear a lot of the Moorish paradigm as far as talking about sovereignty, so forth and so on. Now, I didn't claim to be anything other than myself. I just used the information and was able to win this case. Now, I'm trying to walk you through how I was able to reverse this case and get it and get this case won. Step by step. Yeah, step by step. Okay, so one of the things is that I learned is a special appearance. Always let your paperwork go before you. Okay, so I don't care if they sent you, if your court date is the next day, fax it to the court saying that you're going to make you got to make sure you write on the paper that you're faxing that you're going to make a special appearance. Okay, and within that special appearance, you saying that you say whatever your name is, will be making a special appearance to get this case dismissed or to whatever you're trying to get done, which is usually get your case dismissed. All right, so when you show up, the magistrate or the judge already has your paperwork, so they already know that they don't have jurisdiction because you're there on a special appearance. The reason why you're saying that is because the court system is built on it's a spiritual system. All right, so it's all about channeling. Although it may seem far-fetched, that's why they're summoning you. So they're summoning you, and so what they do is by you making an appearance, they're saying that they have the ability to have control over you because they summoned you and you made an appearance on their command. And then it goes from there. But if you say you're making a special appearance because you hear they're summoning you, so when you say you have a special appearance, they don't have control over you. So you're there, but they don't have control over you, the man or woman. Okay. Also, when they say state your name, and the court officer will say state your name. Now realize, whatever you say, you can always say you was coerced and you felt threatened because he's an officer. You usually have a gun, and if not, you always got to know that If he doesn't, he can call somebody in there who does. So you always feel threatened. You always remember that, just in case your case get dragged out like mine did and like some of the other brothers did. Okay, so when they ask you to say your name, always say you always say your appellation. You know, you say your organic living soul and being. My title and appellation, excuse me. You say your title and appellation is whatever, your organic living soul and being. Say that. I don't care if it sounds like a lot, just say it, because what they're doing is they're recording all of that. The only time it's not being recorded is when it goes to the judge. When it goes to the judge, they have a stenographer, and we're going to get into that maybe a little later, but usually the cases that are started with the magistrates, they're recorded through the microphone. So when you saying your title, your title and appellation, your organic living soul and being, that's pretty much saying that you are who you are. You're our actual living being, opposed to paperwork that they just summoned. So that's how you started off. So from there, he or she might not give you they might not give you eye contact. So they're going to look down and automatically go into whatever erroneous numbers that they're going to ask for your pay stubs. They're going to ask for your money. They're going to ask for whatever information on you. You don't have to give that. Off the rip, you there just saying like they don't have jurisdiction over you. Now, the reason why you have to stress that they don't have jurisdiction to move forward with it, first, is because you don't agree to it, you didn't grant them that, and you object to whatever ruling that she is going to do. You're there on an objection, so that's another thing to remember. You're there on an objection, and they don't have jurisdiction. So they know anything they say to you can be thrown out. It can be automatically reversed, because they know you already set the premise by saying you're there on a special appearance, so they don't have jurisdiction. I'm gonna try to keep saying the same words over and over so they could get pounded in your head. All right. So now you're there on the objection, and now what happened with my situation is when I'm thinking that they're going to do the right thing. No, they're not going to do the right thing. It's going to get it gets tricky, because they'll just say, all right, yeah, okay, as if they have authority over you. They never have authority over you. So don't go in there intimidated. Don't feel intimidated whether you're a man or woman, especially if you're the one that's being leaned on. Okay, so when they're asking for your paperwork, you just continue to object until they say, they'll usually put a motion. Now, as soon as you hear that word motion, because what they do is by you just continuing to say you object, and over and over, you're making it difficult for them to make a ruling. So even if she does make a ruling, you go downstairs and you file an objection immediately, or you file pretty much you file an objection to appeal that decision, right? But one of the things is they'll continue to act as if they're in the right, which they know they're not, because that system is a European system. That European system is a system that is obviously something that's set up that's separate from the American system, separate from even the U.S. system, okay? So that's why the police officers, the regular police, don't have the authority to walk in there, okay? So, and just like they don't have the authority to walk out of there and do anything to you. So when you go in there, you know that automatically you're in a European system. So that's why it's important to never grant jurisdiction over you. And one of the key things is to avoid this whole situation, to avoid even getting to that court system. If you are in a fresh relationship, any of you guys in a fresh relationship, one of the key things to even avoid this whole setup is make an agreement with that man or woman, make an agreement with your partner that you make the agreement saying, listen, if we break up, you know what I'm saying, like, I'll give you this. Write that shit down. It might seem petty, write it down. Okay, now you got to know to write it down. If you don't write it down, then when he or she goes to the court, that's when they get involved. Now, when I'm sitting there and I'm waiting to be heard, this is what I was hearing. I'm hearing the court officers and I'm hearing the magistrate saying to some of the men, they saying, They're treating them like children. They treat them like adolescents, because when you go in there as a minor, when you go in there, they consider you a minority, a minor, the mind of a child. They consider that's these things, these little wordings. It seemed like that's not important. That shit is so important. Every little wordplay. That's how I was able to, with all this little wordplay, I was able to get everything reversed, because they say, listen, you guys couldn't work it out, so you came to us. So sit your ass down. And this is what a court officer said to somebody else. And I'm like, and they, so it's blatant disrespect. And it's sad that, think about it. If you're able to talk a man or woman out of their drawers and have a child with them, you should be able to be adult enough to write something down and say, and come to an agreement without some European involved to make a decision for you. All right, you got, hopefully you guys got enough family and friends that can maybe negotiate before that happens. You got what I'm saying? So this is what the court system is actually set up to do. So it's not that you got to go to the court to do this. Now, also remember, if you're going to do this on your own, because it's important to know that you should do it on your own rather than going to the European, because this system is crippling so many of our people that we can't even, that's why crime, we ushering each other into prison, we ushering each other into selling drugs, we ushering each other into poisoning our community, because it's a domino effect. So if you know that the court system takes 17% for one child and so forth and so on, you look that up for whatever state you live in. Now the thing is, they don't give that woman 17% of your paper check, all right? So don't think that the agreement should be she gets exactly 17% of the check, because she don't get that. Okay, out of the 17, she might get 7. She might get 7, because that money goes to the judge, the magistrate, the court, Europe, the bank. One of the things that I realized, this is how bad it was. Within a few months' time, they had me at $500,000. All right, before I got my shit reversed, they had me at $500,000. This is how I got to $500,000. The court alone had me at close to 100. Right now, I had a bank account. The bank takes, when they go to the bank, they say, we're gonna put a lien on his account. They liened on my account. Now, what the bank does, they take your account, they take whatever you owe and they double it. So because I owed 100,000, now the bank said I owe 200,000, because they say you owe them, you owe the court, and you owe them now. Because is that when I was talking to the banker, and he's like, yeah, because we're going to take the debt. I'm like, that's your problem. That ain't. I was like, I didn't tell you to do that. But you can't stop your account. You can't stop them from. You can't stop the bank from doubling the debt. So automatically they double the debt. So it went from 100 to 200. Now you got to remember, soon as you start talking numbers like that, soon as you start talking numbers, who gets involved? The IRS. So now the IRS also says, well, you owe the bank, you owe the court, now you owe us. Now they're not going off of whatever you making that year, they're going off of whatever you making that year on top of what you owe. So they saying whatever you making that year on top of 200,000. Now it went from 100,000 to 200,000 to close to over 300,000. You got what I'm saying? So the IRS winds up tripling the debt. All of this is the same bank. All of this is the same bank. If you do this, if any of you guys have a court papers, right, from let's just say from child support, go to the bank and try to get it notarized. They're not going to notarize it. They're going to be like, we can't, because it's the same system. It's the same bank. The court, if you know anything about the word in the bench is the bank. So the court system, what they did was they created a Hydra type system. They created like a Hydra. So it's 3 heads on one beast. They all eating off of you, but they'll act like, well, you feeding him, so you got to feed me, so you got to feed me. So that's why it's imperative for whether you a woman doing it or a guy doing it to a woman or whatever the case is, it's imperative to realize that it's not something that it's just, well, he deserved this and not. Nah, you creating a monster. You perpetuating all hell. You got what I'm saying? This year, I seen something that CBS News was saying this year was supposed to be the year that they might be able to, they want to stop the child support system. The only way that's going to happen is if you take this information and everybody acts on it, okay? That's the only way, because they'll push it to the next year and the next year and the next year. All of these little things, as far as, remember, special appearance, object immediately. They tell them they don't have jurisdiction. Before you go, make sure your paperwork gets there first. Whether you fax it or mail it, try to fax it to whatever court. Now realize I said they had three liens on me. They obviously seized whatever license you got going. Now, for a person like, for a man like me, you got I felt like I know I'm special, but I'm not as affected as some of the other men. You got what I'm saying? Because I'm a musician, I'm an artist. I could hit the streets without selling drugs and still make money. I can do something to make enough money to survive and make sure I'm still able to take care of mine. But a lot of men are not creatives, and they don't have that philanthropist. They depend on the system, so it's different for them, So that's why I'm like, for you guys, it was put it like this. It was a man who knew what was going on with my case and kind of looked down on me. Was looking down at, he was looking at me like I was a deadbeat on some real shit. Like he was looking at me like, you a deadbeat and whatever, right? Now the thing is, they linked out out of nowhere. He wound up getting a child support case. You got what I'm saying? Because it was something that was going on with his girl, and his girl didn't do it. Welfare did it. Now welfare is also a part of the court. Welfare is Chase Bank. Chase Bank is welfare, which is the Rockefeller family. Okay, so it's important to know all these things tie together, because it's not like you can get it's nowhere to escape. Okay, it's not like you can escape that system if you're dependent on the system. So for a basic guy, you got to know that you want to make that deal with that woman, beforehand. So when I'm using all this information, right? So I got to a point where the magistrate got real arrogant and real cocky about it, like, because when I was realizing that they wasn't doing the right thing, and she was like, she made like her final ruling, and she got real aggressive with me and all that, and supposed to be in her final ruling. Now I go down, I file my objection, right? Now, before you get your paperwork for your objection. Now, you don't got to do it right then. You take that paperwork home. You go home. Now, you look at you go into your legal dictionary, and you look at other paperwork. What I'll try to do is I'll try to upload some of the wording from the court, so you can see some of the word per se, so you can actually word your paperwork so it looks correct. Because what I did was I seen I was looking up their codes. I was looking up their codes, and I was wording my paperwork so it reflected their codes. So when I filed my objection, I made sure I used the wording from their codes directly. When I sent it in to the judge seen that I was using all the correct wording and showing that they didn't have jurisdiction over me, and I was reiterating that. So he ruled in my favor. But not only did he rule in my favor, I guess he wanted to Jesus Christ me, because he said, instead of him just dismissing the case, what he did was, he says, well, you're correct. They don't have jurisdiction over you. He was one of those judges that wanted to clean out the system. He wanted the magistrate to explain why she continued to violate the codes, right? But he wanted her to do that on the legal way, by explaining it to me, by dismissing the case. But he wanted her to do it. Obviously, when it was time to have the date, what they did was, instead of summoning me properly, what they did was they created a date. And when I called in to try to find out, hey, listen, I didn't get any paperwork, so we could get this case thrown out. They like, no, don't worry, you're gonna get something in the mail. So, you know, I'm calling, and then they was like, yeah, your court date is, you know, September or whatever, right? So I never got no paperwork. So the day came, and I just went to the court. I'm like, I never got any paperwork, but I just went to the court, right? So the funny thing is, I was being funny. I'm gonna tell you, I was being funny because I wasn't rushing, right? I got there on some real relaxed. I get there, and they like, yeah, you know, your case is finished. We threw it out, you know? And I'm like, nah, you can't throw my case out. Like, y'all had something to do. I didn't have nothing to do. Like, it wasn't nothing for me to do other than get my ruling. You know what I'm saying? So what they did was, again, they did the case without, you know, without proper notification, and they didn't think that I would be smart enough to catch that, right? So when they found out that I understood that, or I realized that, you know, they carried on with the case again without me, the court officers came, they locked the court down. Pretty much they emptied the shit out, and they didn't really want me to leave the building. So I was like, it was something where I was able to record a little bit. You know, I had like this little camera because I knew something was wrong. So in the mean. Okay, so yeah, you're getting live action in the background. So you know, so in the meantime, you know, what I wound up doing was I didn't file a motion, okay, to put it back on the calendar. This word motion is important because a motion is dealing with everything other than the main issue, okay? So when you hear the word motion, know that you're not dealing with the main issue at hand. So what they wanted me to do was they wanted me to file a motion, and when you file a motion, what the motion does is it deals with you filing paperwork to say that they never dealt with your case. So that doesn't deal with your case. It just deals with the fact that you filed a motion to say, hey, my case wasn't heard. So they was trying to get me to file a motion, which I wasn't. And some time went by, and then they froze another bank account. So they kind of had me in between a rock and a hard place because I didn't file a motion, and I still was stuck with this. I was still stuck with this debt. So what wound up happening was I had to go on calendar. I had to get the case back on the calendar. So, but I definitely want you guys to know that if you filing motions and things like that, you're never, ever dealing with the main issue at hand, because it's just pushing your case further and further away from actually being resolved. So, so what happened was when I got home, maybe a month later, or 2 months later, I get some paperwork in the mail saying that, okay, everything that ruled in my favor was thrown out. So they wind up saying that I lost, you know, forget it, I lost. So I had a court, so when I went for the court date, they asked me, did I get the paperwork? I said, no, I didn't get it because it didn't come certified again. If it doesn't come certified, you didn't receive it. I don't care if you read it. I don't care if you understand it. I don't care if you agree with it. You didn't get it. So I show up. They say, did you get this paperwork? Nope. So they try to give it to me. Now the difference between me and a lot of the brothers out there, the reason why I was actually able to get this, you know, to understand what was going on was because this case was, what they did was the paperwork looked good, but the signature was wrong. I'm an artist. So from illustrating and being familiar with signatures and things like that, I realized the signature didn't match. What they wound up, the judge's signature, the judge wound up ruling in my favor when I filed an objection, right? So the judge said, okay, you're correct. I want the magistrate to explain why, so forth and so on. Now, what the magistrate wound up doing was the magistrate wound up creating paperwork that looked like the judge created paperwork, forged the judge's signature, saying that the judge changed his mind to reverse the ruling and continue to have me in debt. So when I told him, nah, the signature's forged, she turned red. You know, she's like, they almost lost their mind because everybody falls for the fake signature, like, because nobody can tell the difference, because, you know, this is something that they do. So out of all of this, you know, out of all this that a lot of people that they think the system is fair and just, if they're forging signatures, now, if they're forging signatures and lying, there's no way, if you're one of those, trying to be righteous and trying to be forthcoming about things, you're not dealing with a system that's righteous and forthcoming, because not only are they forging signatures, they're trying to use actual intimidation, like they used with me. Because when I went back and I told them the signatures was forged, what they wound up doing was they created another motion to push it. Now you need the patience of a God. You need the patience of a God, because they'll drag this out. Even though I won, they didn't want to give me the paperwork. So that is one of the issues where you got to realize, like, this is something when you're dealing with the court system, and anybody who deal with the court system, one day is like 3 months, okay, in a court. So you got to really have enough patience, and your family and friends persevere with you, because a lot of my family and friends, after a while, they crumbled on me. You got what I'm saying? And even in the conscious community, it kind of collapsed where, they didn't, it almost was like I lost respect, because nobody felt like, nah, you can't be right. Like, if they still doing this to you, then you wrong. You can't be right, or whatever the case is. But it's something where, the truth and perseverance, will prevail. You got what I'm saying? So what wound up happening was, I still had enough patience to preoccupy myself with other things. But for those who can't, you're gonna have to rely on, because they're gonna go so hard on taking your money and crippling you, that God willing that you got a good family to support you. God willing you got good friends, to hang in there with you. But when I went back to the court, they would save my case for last. They flooded the court. They wound up having like 11 court officers surround me. Now you got to realize this is around the time of the Darren Wilson, George Zimmerman, where people were just getting shot for our brothers is getting just shot randomly. So when they surrounded me, now I got this whole audio. I taped the whole thing, So as soon as I seen them come around me, I walked away. Now he goes on a walkie-talkie like, yo, he's on the move. So I go upstairs I go to a higher judge, and what I wasn't realizing, that you can actually walk into these courtrooms right now. What you want to do is, if you going through any issue where your paperwork is not going the right routes, what you do is you file an order to show cause. That goes directly to the judge. Now, that goes directly to the judge, and the thing is, although it goes directly to the judge, they'll pretend that it got to go to the court officer. They'll pretend that it got to go to the assistant or anybody other than the judge, which is something that made the case, which dragged on my case a little longer, because listen, you dealing with men with guns, you unarmed in these courtrooms. So that's another reason why I'm like, try to avoid this whole system from the rip. Even if you years into this thing right now, even if you years into child support, what you could do is you go find that man or woman. I don't care if she a damn hardhead. I don't care if he never listened. Find somebody in their family that can talk to them, right? And they can go drop the case immediately. The case will be dismissed immediately. He or she could dismiss the case immediately. And what you could do is you could begin to get your life back together. But that's suggested, because the hell that you got to go through is worth giving it a shot of trying to negotiate with the man or woman. I don't care if you try again. Try somebody else, because those people in this system, like to bring home a check. If you got like $700, like you said, some of the brothers bringing back home $50. $12 out of a $600 check, and you still got to pay rent, you still got to live, you still got to get around. They season your license. You said some of the brothers are getting your barber license suspended. You getting all different type, your passport. I couldn't travel out the country and do shows or anything. So the key things to remember, out of all of this, make sure your paperwork get there first. Special appearance, if you got paperwork and that doesn't get to the judge, order to show cause. Never grant them jurisdiction. Of course, like I said, you want to remember that this is a system that relies on your ignorance of law. So by this little bit of information, it's enough to spark your research. Do that little bit of research, because for me, it was just little. I'm not one of those happy with being oppressed. I'm not one of those happy with being in debt. I'm not one of those guys who could be comfortable, bringing home $12, you know what I'm saying, or working for nothing. I'm not comfortable with that situation. So I made sure I did the research. So now this little bit of research that I did, that I'm giving you right now, is enough, believe it or not, to get to begin to release you from this web and to get you out of this system. Again, even if you're winning, they're going to pretend you're not, because what they did with me was they forged this signature. They sent court officers. By the time I finally did get to the judge that ruled in my favor, because I had to storm the court, and when I stormed the court, and the court officers was trying to push me out, which I got footage of a lot of this stuff. I got audio of a lot of this stuff that I put up at another time or whatever. What was happening was, when they trying to push me out, I'm like, yo, they forged your signature to the judge. I screamed that shit out loud. They wasn't playing fair, so I wasn't playing fair. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, yo. And the court froze, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, what's going on? And he's like, yo, just get him out. He's like, just do what the court officer says. I'll see you in a minute, right? So, all right. He wound up letting me back in. So I go back in. There's nobody in there. No more people. They made sure all the people left. It's me, a room full of court officers, and a room full of lawyers. So he's like, he's standing there, some cowboy, judge. He's like standing there like, hey, what's going on? What's up? What are you talking about? What's the problem? I'm like, first you got to realize this case was dragging on for years. So by the time I get there, I'm like wiping my brow, like I can't even talk right now. You know what I'm saying? So, he's like, all right, look, I'm gonna read the paperwork that I have. He gives a rundown of their interpretation of my paperwork, and he's like, okay, so, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want my case dismissed. You know what I'm saying? So what he said was, he's like, okay, look, I can make a ruling right now, but the woman wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? My son's mother wasn't there. So he's like, she could bring the case back, which, nah, I should have said still make that ruling anyway. Because again, like I said, they not playing fair. So don't think that you can be fair and logical for them. So don't play fair. Like, make him make that ruling. If it get to that point with you. So I'm listening to everything, and then when I realized that he started to say things that were countering his own information, then I kind of lost respect a little bit. You got what I'm saying? So he was like, no, listen, I'll make sure I'll do the right thing, and you don't got to wait months. I'll do it by the next month. Oh, excuse me, I'll do it by the next week. So I calmed down, so I'm thinking the next week, we good on the time? Okay. I'm thinking by the next week, everything is good to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, listen, this is years, and I'm trying to cram it into to a few minutes of a conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I hope some of you guys could get something from this or whatever. So now I realize, I'm back with the judge. I'm back with the judge for the second time the following week. So he says, now realize this whole time, she's never showing up. She's never there in the court. She never was there for any of the hearings. So automatically the case should have been dismissed because this wasn't my case. So for this whole time, he's like, listen. He started talking. I'm like, nah. I'm like, yo, what you talking for? So now you got to realize the room is also still filled with court officers, and they thinking that he's gonna rip into me because I'm talking reckless to him. Because now he's continuing on with the case, and she's not here, and he's the judge that ruled in my favor, and I already showed him his signatures was forged. So soon as he start talking, I'm like, yo, stop talking, like dismiss this case. She's not here. So he's like, you gonna let me talk? He's like talking to me like we friends and shit. I'm like, nah, man. Like, so he's like, look, he's trying to like say, listen, I already got an order. Now realize to make a decision, he's like, yo, look at my decision. He's trying to hand me a decision. Now realize a decision only comes after you come to an agreement with the three parties. Now, before I even got into court, he already had a decision made. So no matter what was said, he already had a ruling for me. So I'm like, how you got a decision and she's not here and we ain't even have a discussion yet. So automatically, again, he was off the mark. So what wound up happening was the court officers was there, and when I was telling him to get the court officers out the room, he tells me he can't. So that was another piece of information that I was surprised at, because when I told him to get the court officers out, he was like, I don't have no authority over the court officers, meaning that power was coming from somewhere else. You got what I'm saying? So, pardon me. So now realize, if the judge couldn't get the court officers out of the courtroom, that's now the only person that would have been in jeopardy from the forged signatures and from this whole thing being dragged on illegally was this Jewish magistrate. So I'm looking at it like the magistrate don't have more authority over the judge, but she's able to. But she been here for so long, and she got this shit on lock so crazy that she was able to have the judge do what she wanted her to do. What she wanted, right? And the court officers are following her like they was her goons, literally. Like when I'm talking to them, I'm like, yo, when I'm like going filing the paperwork, I'm like, yo, she got her goons following me, and they looking like, yo, that's they like, that's true. Like she had the court on lock. So now I realize I'm dealing with probably like one of the high-powered magistrate in New York or whatever. So they looking at me. The clerks is what you call them. The clerks are looking at me like, you doing the right thing, but I can't help you. Out of like, say, the 20 clerks that I came across, it was 2 angels. You know what I'm saying? It was 2 that was like they'll tell you one thing that can help you, and you better use that to your advantage, right? So another good thing is call in advance, because sometimes they'll say something over the phone that you need to hear, rather than when you go there in person, they get disrespectful. One brother, he goes to the clerk. The clerk says, it looked like a clean brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm there and I'm real nonchalant because I already know I'm gonna win my case, and I'm different with mine already, and I don't care how arrogant they was talking to me and how disrespectful. I'm reversing it. I'm like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm not like the rest of them. You got what I'm saying? So the way I was talking to them was just as reckless as they was talking to me after a while, and they couldn't do nothing about it because I beat them with their paperwork. I was just waiting for my paperwork. So when I see one of the brothers walk up, he walks up, and this black woman, man, like this black woman said some foul. She just said something awkward to him, right? He's like, yo, I'm here because I got some paperwork. And she said something weird to him, you know what I'm saying? Now, you got to realize, damn, man, it was something where, put it like this. When we walk into court, we already got an attitude. We already upset to be there. So pretty much, he was already upset that he was in there, you know what I'm saying? So he walk up, and maybe she gave him some paperwork to fill out before, and maybe he filled out something wrong, you know what I'm saying? Maybe he didn't fill something out. She was like, this still ain't right. And he was like, man, she was like, well, fuck it, I ain't helping you now. Get out. I'm not helping you at all. I'm not doing your paperwork. And, of course, that made him more upset. You got what I'm saying? So he's pissed. Now, you got to realize the whole thing with them is to get you out of your character. They feed on our ignorance. They feed on our emotion, because the whole system is a spiritual system based on emotion. So whether the woman got you there because of emotion, the whole thing is based on playing. It's literally a game that plays on emotion. So you got to know that it's literally a game, and once you get control, you got to have enough discipline over yourself. I don't care. Like, I'm saying all of this. There was times where I got upset when I didn't know any better, because when I was first going through it, I didn't know any better. So I'm like, yo, I did the right thing. Why I ain't get my paperwork yet? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going back like, where's my paperwork? So some of the answers that they give you, like, they was like, yeah, it's a conspiracy, right? They be hanging up the phone on you all crazy. Like, it was nobody to call. I'm reaching as far as like the highest court. You got what I'm saying? And like it was so crazy that it was nobody to go to, so you got to deal with it yourself. So that's why I'm like, no matter what, it's still, you still got to rely on your own information and your own research and your own self-discipline to get accomplished what you need to get accomplished. Because every lawyer that I went to, because people will tell you all day, yo, brother, all you need is a lawyer. It's like, yo, get a lawyer or get the, you know, the free advice or whatever. Nope. Yo, I bodied the lawyers. Like, the lawyers was like, you're not gonna win. Like, there's no way for you to win. What you could do is this. This is what the lawyers will tell you. You know, they'll have you plea, because you got to realize also the lawyers work for the bank, the lawyers work for the court. So I don't care if you hire that lawyer, they're not there to win for you. You see all the Facebook posts of the brother who showed up with the lawyer, and he still didn't win a case. The brother who paid too much, the $3,000 extra, they still locked him up. So many different, a man who was taken to court for a child that wasn't his, and they still made him pay. You know what I'm saying? With a lawyer that he got. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm telling you is, without a lawyer, without all of that running around, I had to do this on my own, and I had to find out the hard way. So I'm hoping that either whatever your situation is, you can take from this, so you don't have to go through that. So you being a brother who don't, you know, there's still some brothers who don't have children, you know, ahead of time, but involved in relationships where you might want a child, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people tell me, yo, man, after hearing everything you went through, I don't want no children. And that's not fair to say. That's not fair, because, you know, you probably deserve a child. You know what I'm saying? You probably need a child, you know, out here. But at the same time, don't let them play your hand into not continuing your legacy. But, you know, with these games or whatever. So what winds up happening is, if you're going to start a relationship, again, you got to make sure that communication is key. If you with somebody because it's lust, if it's lust, then it is what it is. Know how to pull out or use a condom and be straight up about things. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to drag on a relationship. If you just friends, y'all just friends. If y'all, it is what it is. Like, we're in a day and age where you can be straightforward with each other. You got to stop playing games with each other. Like, that relationship, the relationships that we have with each other is what it's all. It's the seeds for a full $1 trillion system, because they're capitalizing on old colonial psychology tricks that they're using on the women, old colonial psychology tricks of making the men feel powerless in a system that they feel is not set up for them to win. In all actuality, when I was doing my research and I'm talking to people, I'm like, yo, this is our system. We can actually win. People that I feel that I respect intellectually, they telling me, nah, this ain't our system. There's no way you could win with the system. I'm like, and I'm doing research. I'm like, yo, I'm looking at the codes. The codes are actually set up for you to win, because I didn't win by saying I'm a Moor or I'm a Hebrew or I'm a Buddhist or no shit, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't a magician. I just used the code. I used the system. The system is set up for you to win, but it's also it has people in place that don't want you to win. These magistrates are not there to help you and your family. They're there to help their family. They're there to do their job and to get your money into their banks. You know what I'm saying? So what's winding up happening is, when you go in there for them to help negotiate your problems and your issues that you should have did from the jump, you know, when you link up with your partner. So don't be intimidated by, this information that I'm giving you, or somebody else's information about, well, I don't want to have no children or nothing like that, because trust me, the way they bombing on us, just teach your children right. You know what I'm saying? Like, continue to come get this information, continue to reach out and do your research and all of that, because the information is there for you. But they thrive on our ignorance. They thrive in it's a big business that thrives on our ignorance to this, to these situations. Now, if you got anything that you wanted to ask as far as anything else.
Well, you pretty much answered the questions I had in my mind, and I appreciate your info, as well as I know a lot of brothers is going to appreciate it, because like I said, I met a lot of brothers throughout the years that have been caught up in the system. But one thing I do for those to continue to do the research on their own, give a recommended book list or things they should read, or if not, if it's a specific book, things they should study, because this is not something that a teacher could walk in there, you can't walk them in there with your hand and tell them step by step what to do. So this thing, the system, everybody has to do this on their own to a certain extent. So tell them how they could go and research certain things to figure this out, so they could do this on their own without a lawyer or without waiting for a messiah or a teacher or a chosen one or whoever. Tell them exactly what to read, brother.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. All right. Maybe what we could do is, we can, along with this information that I'm giving you, just to walk back through it, maybe we could hold something at Nicholas soon. We could do some, because she's ready whenever we ready. Maybe we could do something there, and I could walk you through some of the other information, because a lot of the information that you would expect to be out there is scattered. It's scattered. So I'm gonna do it like this. Whatever state you live in, go to their codes first. Whatever state you live in, because little things like the jurisdiction thing for New York is different for Texas, different for LA, different for Atlanta. I wouldn't want to tell you to start with the books. I would tell you to find out the codes and statutes of that state that you're living in. Now, if you're wrapped up already and you're probably way, I doubt you're 500,000 in like I was, but you're probably in a bad situation. Now realize another thing, with being 500,000 in debt, now realize I was homeless. I was homeless doing a lot of things. They cripple me, you know what I'm saying? So, and another thing is I can also sue now because they never had jurisdiction over me. If they alter your life because of ruling that they make, without jurisdiction, you have the right and authority to sue that judge or that magistrate. Now, if you grant them jurisdiction and they have jurisdiction, then you can't sue that judge, and you can't for the million or whatever. You got what I'm saying? So the first thing I would definitely say, go to the state, go to your state codes and laws, state codes and statutes for the family court. Damn, it was another thing that you said, brother. It was another thing that you said, The Black's Law Dictionary changes. Now, one of the things about the Black's Law Dictionary is cool. It's cool to go through the Black's Law Dictionary, but just like the Black's Law Dictionary, you can go to any law definition online. It's faster, because the Black's Law Dictionary is definitely a good book to have. You got what I'm saying? But for those who don't got that extra money to spend because child support is taking all your money, you could Google it on your phone, or you can actually Google some of these words. What you do is something like simple as when they ask you your name, they're trying to incorporate you automatically. Something as simple as name is locking you in. So you go to name legal definition, and you'll see what the legal definition for name is. So now when you start seeing the wordplay of these legal definitions, with something simple as name, appearance, now that is going to lead from one thing to another. Actually, that's one of the ways that I find, that's how I was able to do my research. Because say whatever paperwork you got, look at how they word it, okay? Go look at your paperwork. That's why I don't want to tell you to go to a book first. You got what I'm saying? Because honestly, I didn't go to a book. There was no book that it was like I looked at my paperwork, because another thing is they got paperwork on you. So look at the paperwork that's already on your name. So you look at that paperwork and you're going to see words words that seem out of place. Words that seem like, why are they saying I such and such, or any word that seems, there's like a list of these words. I'm just here, I'm just here. I don't have like none of these words with me or whatever, but it's just certain words that one word will lead to another word. You'll read that definition, and that definition will lead to another word. And in turn, what that was helping me do, and what that's going to help you do, is that's going to help you get into that rabbit hole of, you're going to start coming to your revelation of, you'll see how it's illegal. Then you'll see how to go to what code and how to reverse it off of what code. Because once I seen that, they violated this code, you go, and then I did some more research with that wordplay. I go into that word, and I go into that code, and the code was saying a magistrate don't have the authority to rule. Then I'm like, then that pushed me to another code, and then that pushed me to another definition. And then what that does is that help you write your paperwork different. That helps you to organize your paperwork. Try to be concise. Try not to be too wordy. Try to do bullet points. Write it as if a lawyer would have wrote it. A lot of us are brilliant minds out here. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you're a regular everyday knuckle dragger, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these guys are real smart, you know what I'm saying? So you're gonna just take your little bit of time, put your words together the way you would put what's ill is being a lyricist, being an MC, right? A lot of us are using our wordplay to bring each other down on some battle shit, you know what I'm saying? Now, for a long time, I was into the battle, the battle culture and all of that, and a lot of us are still into the battle culture. Now, the wordplay that we use to counter each other's wording in a debate, when I was in that court, the same sharpness and the same frame of mind that we go into the debates is the same frame of mind that you got to go into that court system. It's the same frame of mind that you got to go into when you're dealing with these lawyers and when you're dealing with these officers and you're dealing with the system. It's so simple but so deep at the same time, because it's like they know that, but they know that if they keep you distracted on glorifying us being ignorant to it, that you won't know that some of the best freestyle artists probably would destroy some of the best lawyers out there, best Harvard lawyers, because if you study your information, right, and then they come up to you with whatever information, if you good, you could counter it. And that's what was happening, because I was countering them so fast that the lawyers, the judge, they wasn't ready. So by the time they send paperwork to me, now if they send paperwork to you, now you got time to sit with it. Now it's not a freestyle no more. Now you could just sit with it. Now you could write a whole song, you know what I'm saying? Now, when they send in the paperwork to me, I'm like, I got time, you know what I'm saying? Like, because realize the court date is like 3 months at a time. So now I got time so that same energy that I was putting into writing songs and coming up with all these intricate words, I'm like, yo, in the court, I'm like that.
I think that's real deep what you said, and I'm glad you said that. For a long time, I've said that, even with debates and in the courtroom, it's not necessarily about who's right or wrong. It's about who could think the fastest. So you could have some right information, but you may not be able to conjure it up that fast. So by the time you may start stuttering, you may get scared, then the judge cuts you off, whatever. So one thing you kept mentioning earlier that I think is very important that a person can't get in a book is this fear factor. Now, I'm very intuitive. I've talked to you several times previous to this conversation we having today. There's something about confidence. You exude confidence. I've been noticed that about you. Some people say arrogance. Some people, depending on your interpretation of, a person that believes in what they believe in. How important is confidence? Because I've seen people, I know brothers personally that know all the information intellectually, but when they get in front of that courtroom and they see that white man in that black costume and his suit and his tie, they freeze, man. And these brothers is intellectual sound. I mean, they got it together intellectually, but as far as that aura and that confidence, they freeze up in that courtroom, and all that shit that they just learned went out the window. So speak a little bit about confidence and how that allowed you to keep going, because that's a element that can't be taught in a book. It just, you have to tap into that yourself. So talk about confidence a little, because that's extremely important.
Yeah, you know, I get hammered for that confidence. I get hammered for that. but again, it does work. You know what I'm saying? Because what it comes from is self-programming. It comes from one of the things is something that I would do. I'm an intuitive person also. So just intuitively, sometimes you can turn from a optimist to a pessimist and vice versa. It's good to know both sides, right? But when you have that about you, and I had that about me, like I would just pick up bad information, bad energy, and it would just make me upset real fast, right? One thing that we all keep talking about over and over is knowledge of self, right? So within knowledge of self, you know, without having to read 20,000 books, is everything that's going on around you, the signs, the symbols, so forth and so on, is about programming. Now, simple things, and simple ways to program yourself into being a little more confident about your information and about what you have about whatever you have to present, especially in a situation like a court system, is if you deep into court, you probably are not in your comfort zone. You're probably not somewhere where you could put posties and things like that. But whether it's in your phone or you write it down, write things down, set these little goals for yourself. And that's what I was doing. I was setting little goals for myself, because for me, a person like me, you know, a man like me, what I was doing, I was setting these far goals, like I'm gonna be the greatest, I'm the greatest, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and you know, and what that does is that's great long-term goals, but what your mind does, you gotta psychologically trick yourself out of this Willie Lynch, Leopold system. You know, you was colonized for and programmed for a long time. So everything that they did to you, you gotta undo this yourself. So you gotta literally re-indoctrinate yourself by what I'm gonna say, that you can get some self-help books. You got what I'm saying? Like those little punchlines or whatever, those little I'm not one of those people who can every Facebook or Instagram post tell you something cheery and good. That ain't me. You know what I'm saying? But they have people like that every time they post or every time you talk to them, they can tell you something happy and good. You know what I'm saying? So that's not reality, but take from that what you need. Take from those little proverbs. Like I'm one of the guys, I'm not a biblical guy, but in the Proverbs, or if you even want to get into our knowledge holistically, go to the Thoth. You got what I'm saying? That's where the Proverbs come from. The Proverbs come from. Now, what's happening is those punchlines are consolidating information fast enough where your brain is reconnecting your brain. So even though you're well studied, your wiring is different. You know what I'm saying? Your wiring for that fast comeback is different. So you might have everything ain't for everybody. Like, I'm not saying every situation is for everybody. I'm not going to say that everybody should go out and start debating now and you know what I'm saying, and doing. But I'm trying to tell you things that put it like this. If you for you know how you got some brothers that are great at debating but might not be good at health. Might be great at health, but might not be good at getting themselves out of child support. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the brothers are great with their information, but they still on child support. You know what I'm saying? So some of the things is because you got so engulfed with the information that you didn't get into programming yourself on simple things on how to carry yourself. You know, that's why it is that whole royal thing, that whole divinity. That's where, you know, the language actually come from, is the divine tongue. So learning that you come, you know, having when you're looking at your ancestors, having a respect for yourself, because if you start doing that, then you'll realize those little things like having respect for yourself and that programming, then you'll realize whether it's that man or woman, you'll start talking to your girl or your son's mother or your son, or vice versa. You'll start talking to them different. You'll start carrying yourself different. You'll have a lot more self-control and self-discipline. One of the things that I did that I don't suggest people do now is I went to the military. So I did that because I got sons, so I wanted to know, how do you discipline a man? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we're going in as men, we're not going in as children. There's grown men that go into the military, and you got other men disciplining them into a system. Now, what I learned was, it wasn't a bunch of books. It was like they programmed us. Now, for the Marines, it took us 3 months. Really 4 months, but it was 3 months of doing the same repetitious things. Oh yeah, repetition is key to success. Repetition is key to whatever you need to get done. No, if you want to win your case, I'm gonna win my case. I'm gonna win my case. Say that. Those simple things over and over. Have it written down. Win my case. Write that down. Things to accomplish. Whether you're dealing with the lawyer or whatever the case is, whatever you want to do, make sure you write it down, look at it, repeat it. When you going to sleep, it's a part of the programming is, when you in that, right before you going to sleep, and you in that relaxed state, is the best time to get yourself. That's the best time to get your. Now the Marines, the programming with the Marines is really beautiful. But I don't suggest people go to it. You got what I'm saying? So I definitely want to do one day where we can just show you the conditioning that they did for us, because the conditioning that I got from them, I was able to use it in real life situations, because it's our information, like it's comedic information. And it's the comedic information that they use. They using it on us. And now for their agenda. So now that's why what's key is still that, knowledge of self and continuing to study. Don't just because, like, I talked to, a sister like a few minutes ago, and she was like, man, yeah, I know all the information. I just want to get into how to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool, but no, the law of attraction, you get what you want. Now, money is nothing. Like, money is, you could attract that, but if your mind ain't there, it'll come and go. Like, you can say I want money and you find a bunch of pennies on the floor. Now you got what you wanted. So no, when you programming yourself, you saying you gotta be as specific as possible. So if you wanna be, if you need that wit and if you need it just enough, it ain't about prayer. Prayer is about programming. Like, when people say I'm praying to God, and God is no, trust in your ancestors. Like, yeah, there might be a Most High, but there's a lot of ancestors that are always with you. Now, maybe a lot of people are not, as spiritual as I am. I'm not one of those, one of those people that can quote scriptures and nothing like that. But being spiritual and knowing that what's real is that we exist, and we all based on energy. Now that energy is based, that energy is programmable. Now those simple things of repetition and making sure whatever you want to accomplish in this system is doable. Whatever you want to get done out here is easy for you guys to do, and because I did it, and just because I was homeless, $500,000 in debt, countering, so forth and so on. If I can do it, trust and believe. Like, this wasn't even my route. You got what I'm saying? I'm an artist and a musician. This wasn't my route, and I did it. So if I can do it, and you guys are out there who's well studied and all into it and in depth, you could do it. I appreciate your time. Okay, yeah. Rawyalmusic.com, RAWYAL music.com. RawyalNews.com, RAWYAL news.com. If you want the email is RAWYAL10@gmail. Facebook is Royale. Instagram Royale. All of those things you can reach from my website, royalemusic.com. And pretty much, whatever questions, again, we'll stay in contact. So if we do like where I'm a visual artist, so I try to I tell you as best as I can, but I like to show you so you can see the forged signatures, so you can see so you can see and hear what was going on. I taped the conversations. I want you to hear it so we could walk each other, I could walk you guys through it, and you might have questions that right now that I'm coming off the cuff, I might not, I might not have answered what you needed. Yeah, I'm freestyling right now, so, but thanks for your time, and what I'm saying, and any questions, just hit me up. All right. All right, peace. One more thing. We good to go. All right. And one more thing is this is definitely not exclusive to black men anymore, because as you all know, there's more women working right now than men, right? So what they're doing is, before, maybe a few years back, they wasn't granting custody for men. Now they're granting the custody to the men, and the men are taking the women to child support, because the women have like 2-3 jobs, and she buying bags and shoes and Gucci and Prada and all these different things. Now the court want a piece of that money. So the men are petitioning, the men are able to petition to get custody, and the court is now reversing it on the women. So all this information is not just something that, some of the men should pay attention to. It's also so the women smarten up. Because if you are thinking about putting him on child support or whatever the case is, and you still working, now I'm not going to be an asshole and do that to mine, but at the same time, know that if you hurting that man, he's going to be so hurt that, your turn. You know what I'm saying? To put you through hell. So to avoid that, because it's perpetual, stop what you're doing. If you're a woman and you got your husband or your baby father or whatever on child support, just know that it's a given. They will reverse it on you in a second. So also, it's also not exclusive to just our race. So it's everybody. So you might even get all different types of people coming at it. But for us, in general, you know what it is. So stay focused and use that information, and anything, just reach out.